Hear me?
I mean, I'd say, probably 80%.
Yep, I can hear you, Amy.
Oh, alright. All you, bro.
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you, but I couldn't hear anything before you said, can you hear me okay, if you were talking?
Same.
Perfect. Gotta finish up that call. So I just unmuted. How's everybody doing today?
Good, how are you?
Can't complain. From what I understand, Gwen says she's gonna teach this class today, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure she said Michael was gonna teach the class since he was in person.
Right. I'm digging that. Thanks, Adrian.
Here, I got you.
I don't remember any of that. I think Gabriella said she's gonna come up here and teach this class.
First step, get your license. Second, sell your parents' home.
So today we're talking about open houses, right?
Yes.
I don't know where Anna keeps that spreadsheet with the numbers. Anybody
It's
look at the numbers today?
It's in resources.
How do you get your resources?
You know that slide, I think it's after this that has that QR code. Oh, the next slide down. I'm pointing at it for you. That one right there. Yep. Click that. No, I think with the QR code says materials, go up slide 3. Yep. Click that. And then click that guy. And that, oh, see down below, it says Drive, Google. Yeah, click that guy. Open it, class materials, it's in there. And then one of these said something about, oh yeah, here, tracker, daily MLS tracker.
I think what's blank. Where's the one Anna's been filling out daily?
No, I think it's in there because I can get to that same one. Oh, that one's blank? Oh, it's a PDF. Go down. Yeah, I don't use that one. But it looks like that. Go down to right here, that little guy, up right there. Yeah, click that slide where it says lead generation 30. Yeah, it's in this thing. Yep. And it's in a tab. See this second tab, lead gen, MLS tracker. Woohoo!
See, Gwen, I told you you should be teaching this thing.
No, but I can tell you we make a good team, don't we? I'll do this part, you do that part.
I don't even have access to edit it. So let's just look at the numbers. Has anybody looked at the numbers today?
I have not yet, but I'll write them down in my spreadsheet and I'll send them to Anna so that she can update them. So we'll have them for tomorrow.
So over the last 7 days, new listings, 1377. Pending 2037. Closed 1621. Price decreases 797. So what do these numbers tell us? What do you think, Gabby? What do these numbers tell us?
I think. I don't know.
What it tells me is the market's still pretty hot. Homes are still moving. Probably this 2,000 number is a bump from all the homes that got offers over the weekend. And then they all went under contract yesterday or this morning. I think that's why we see a huge difference between pending and new listings. What do you guys think?
I agree with that.
You also have more closed in the past 7 days than you have new listings.
Yep. So what's that tell us?
I mean, I think that's a positive to the, you know.
I think it's a positive sign that says it's still a strong seller's market. It's a bad thing for us as brokers, because if this trend continues, that's why we run out of inventory. Right? So if we're looking at so there's what, 4,400 homes on the market? If that
Yeah.
continues, we'll just keep chipping away at 4,400 homes, right? Then all of a sudden, we're looking at 3,000 homes on the market, 2,000 homes on the market. And then all of a sudden, what happens?
100,000 over asking price.
Right, what we're experiencing gets worse, right?
Yeah, I saw that in my tracking my numbers. I think yesterday it was around 4,800 active listings, and today it's at 4,400. So in one day on my tracking, I do it 24 hour versus 7 day, but there was like a 400 drop.
Yep. And so if it drops 400 every week, all of a sudden, we don't have any houses to sell,
Yep.
right?
That being said, so Michael, one thing that is positive though, of course, as you hear, the media and everybody talking about the fear of the housing market dropping, as you can see, we still have a lack of inventory. So that is a positive as far as, yes, we still need inventory to sell, right? We always need inventory to sell. But as far as alleviating some of those concerns for our clients.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good indicator that we're still in a strong seller's market. And I think, yeah, our sellers can rest easy, as long as those numbers look like that, that if they list, they'll most likely be able to sell their home. What would you track, or what indicator would you look at to say, hey, this market's shifting, we gotta start worrying a little bit? What needs to happen for you guys to start saying, whoa, I'm starting to freak out here?
I don't know if I'd freak out, but if I see the active listings continue to go up with the days on market continuing to go up and price decreases taking place, I would say it may be shifting a little bit to a buyer's. I won't say it's a buyer's market, but it's definitely shifting. But to your point, it looks like it's still a seller's market.
So let's say it shifts to a buyer's market. Do you start getting concerned at that point or no?
No, I'm not.
What's the market have to look like for you to say, oh crap?
What would have to happen for me to say, oh crap? If the credit markets totally freeze up like March of 2020 and lending stops,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, oh crap, because buyers aren't buying with cash in most cases. They're getting financing, either conventional or FHA, etc. So if that lending really tightens up, or if it tightens up like in 08 through 012, where you had to be a stellar credit with stellar reserves and stellar, underwriting, meet all the underwriting criteria, then that may be a oh crap to me.
I agree. What's that what does that do to the real estate market if lending seizes up?
Well, for me, I would shift and try to find real estate investors and work with them and have them utilize whatever resources they have to acquire more investment properties.
Glenn, Adrian, what do you think?
So yes, to Scott's point, if the lending froze up, that would be a concern. Beyond that, people need to buy and sell in any market. When you have a more, you can't see my quotes, I should turn on my camera, difficult market, I'm doing my little air quotes. You do see some of the companies like Rex just went out of business, and some of the competition is gone then, because it is a little bit more difficult, and it's not as easy for those companies that are more of what we would consider the discount agents. But as far as if the market turns to a buyer's market, then that gives our buyers some opportunity, like the first time home buyers or renters, opportunities that they have not really been able to compete with in this market. So I think there's opportunities in every market. We just have to look for them.
I agree. I often think of, I look at how many homes sell right now on an annual basis, and, I'd say, 60 to 70,000 homes sell a year in RE Colorado, right? And then I look back to 2008, 2010, how many homes sold during that time period, and it was almost the same. It's about 50, 60,000 homes a year. So I think the amount of transactions don't disappear. It's just what kind of deal are you getting? Like right now, you get a listing, you're probably gonna get paid in 30 days. If the market shifts, you get a listing, you're probably gonna get paid in what, 60 to 90 days? Maybe if it takes 6 months to sell a home, you better have a ton of listings because you're only gonna get paid every 6 months, right? So then you start representing buyers, and then buyers will get paid faster. So I think as agents, it's good to be aware of, what's the market cycle and how do you build your business to basically shift proof your business so you can still survive, because if it takes you 6 months to get paid, how long are you gonna be able to survive in business?
Right now, though, Michael, with buyers, I mean, some of the buyers, it doesn't take as long to get under contract, but some of the more difficult buyers, it's taken us 4 months so to get under contract. And, 12 offers later, because some of those FHA buyers with no appraisal gaps, those buyers that we all have, right? So I think we get paid the same. It's just that we get paid quicker on buyers and not as quick on sellers, and we can use our listings longer as leverage to gain more buyers versus having one weekend to advertise those listings. So we could definitely turn it into a positive.
Yeah, I agree. You just gotta make sure you have enough business, right? Because if you only have 2 listings, are you gonna be able to survive if it takes 6 months to sell a home? Or if you only had 2 buyers and it was taking you 4 months to put the buyer under contract, and then another 30 days to work the contract, you're getting paid once every 5 months. Would you be able to survive in business? Probably not. Which takes us to lead gen. So who's doing 3 hours of lead gen? Did you guys lead gen this morning? Gabriella's sitting here rolling her eyes like, sure did. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I have been. I just, like I said, it's all mine are pure cold calling versus warm lead. So I'm not getting the results today that I might be getting down the road, but that's okay.
So let's talk about lead gen. I know a lot of your lead gen is cold calling, right?
Mine is, yes.
So I look at lead gen like a chair. Right? So if your chair is your lead gen and you only have one leg to the chair, which is cold calling, is that a chair you want to sit in?
Understand. And so just to follow up, part of my blueprint will be, how do I say, take out the Facebook ad stuff that I'll try to do. But it's also going to be some direct mail, and then also direct mail to, I've identified properties that are non-owner occupied. To Adrian's point, if the market does shift a little bit, then it could be some opportunities for the renters, the tenants that are looking to buy. So looking to maybe try to get some business that way. And then also target current investors that own investment properties. Reach out to them and try to get a feel for what their portfolio looks like or what their criteria is for potential new acquisitions. So I don't know, I could probably do more than that as well, but that's kind of where my thought process is today.
I like it.
Not to mention that I got to do my campaigns through KW Command as well. So part of my follow-up is doing twice a month through KW Command, just getting out some touch points, like some updates via email to stay in touch that way also.
Cool. Gwen, what's your lead gen look like? Adrian, what's your lead gen look like?
So I always have my lead gen in the morning before I get super busy with other projects. So what I need to get better at is shortening my conversations. I'm sure, as you know, just from our conversations, I don't have short conversations. So I may lead generate for 3 hours, but I don't get near as many people talked to as I would like.
So how do you shorten your conversations?
That's a great question, Michael. I'm working on it.
You know, I was talking to my coach and we were talking about pop buys. And he said, you know, kind of the same thing. He's like, look, how do you make it so, you know, you can pop by, have a quick conversation and still go? And he said what he does is he leaves the car door open and the car door running. So he can pop by and say, hi, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it was great talking to you. I got the car running, so I gotta run. And I told him, man, if you do that in Denver, you might not have a car to come back to.
That's a great idea. Most of my call time during the morning is over the phone.
Right.
I tend to bring out chatter, and I am not mastered a way to end a conversation. So that is something, yeah, that I'm working on. So.
I hear you. So who in here is tracking their lead gen numbers? And so when I talk about tracking your lead gen numbers, for example, Scott, you're cold calling, right? And so today I dialed 50 people. Out of the 50 dials, I talked to 10 people. Out of the 10 people, I got 2 nurtures. And then eventually those 2 nurture will become, you know, clients and then listings and then closings. Who tracks their numbers like that?
I do, but I'm just curious. I'm not getting a lot of contacts, and I'm curious if it's because the people I'm calling don't recognize my phone number and they're letting it go to voicemail. So it's anyways, but when I make my phone calls, I've got different columns. I've got calls and I got a column for bad numbers because I'm using source for my contact information. Then I've got a call for contacts, leads / appointments. So I am tracking that.
Good.
But like I said, it's slow. I've had a few conversations where there may be potential down the road, but nothing immediate.
Gabriella, you did one of these. What does this mean?
I track how many people I call, how many people answer. And then basically everybody that answers just goes into a nurture pile.
Okay, so everybody that answered goes into a nurture pile.
Yeah,
Why does everybody that answer goes into a nurture pile?
because they were dumb enough to answer the phone and now I'm sending them letters.
Yeah, but let's say their sister's an agent.
Mhm.
Do you have pretty good odds of winning that business?
No,
So why are they in
Okay.
your nurture pile?
I've only met one person that has an agent, and I give him my number, all my contact info, and I just kind of said if you ever need help, just contact me. And I didn't put her in the nurture pile, but I probably would have if I had, because I only had her number and she would not give me her email, she would give me her address. So I didn't really see anything else that I could do.
So Adrian, you've been in the business a little while.
Yes.
How do you determine if this is somebody you're gonna nurture or if this is somebody that's not worth nurturing?
Well, everybody that's not working with an agent goes into the system because they're, as far as the newsletters we send out, and that, I don't know if that's what she means by nurture, but some of the items that we send out to our entire database. But as far as I believe what you're talking about with nurture and the nurturing that we do is anyone that is interested or seems interested, we assign more of a time frame so that we know what to send them and what to nurture. But the items that really apply to everybody get sent to everybody. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I mean, let's say in your scenario, somebody, walks into the sales office of one of your developments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're kind of just looky-loo, they might have an agent, they might not, they're not really clear with you. Is that somebody you nurture?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so what point would you say this person is not worth nurturing?
Well, if I very much respect the boundaries. If somebody's working with an agent, usually, oh yeah, well, let me contact your agent. With the new communities, of course, we have a little bit more interaction with the buyers, even if they are working with an agent. So of course I ask them for their agent's information so I can reach out and let them know, but I'm not going to send them any more information until after they close in our community. As far as, contacting them, I mean, we all are limited on time, right? Especially those of us that don't know how to stop talking like me. So the ones that seem like they are a little bit more interested, if they are not sure if they're working with an agent, that means they're not working with an agent.
Right.
My clients know they're working with me, and I'm 100% positive that your clients know that they're working with you. So if they're like, oh yeah, I'm not really sure, that means they've probably talked to somebody here and there. They've probably called listing agents, but they haven't signed anything, and they certainly haven't found value in someone, or they would know that. So yes, I would nurture that person.
So what I want to try and help you figure out, Gabriella, is like, what's your criteria? Right, so instead of everybody I talk to is going to get dumped into my nurture pool, like, do you have a criteria that says, yes, I'm gonna spend time, energy, and money on this person, versus no, let them go?
I don't have a criteria yet.
So what about developing your skills? Scripts, role play. Did we do anything today to develop our skills?
I did not. Scott, I did not.
Why not?
I have no excuses. I just have not coordinated with others to do the scripting.
Yeah, really.
And I could have like just kind of mentally roadmapped an objection on my end, and then write down or figure out what to say next. But I didn't do that today.
Gabriella, you shook your head. Yes, you worked on your skills today. What'd you do?
I made my script better.
You made your script better?
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
By not asking questions I shouldn't be asking.
And so did that give you better results?
We'll see. I'll do it tomorrow. I promise I'll do it tomorrow.
Anybody else develop their skills today?
I say we're all developing our skills right now because we're attending this class.
There you go. So while we're talking about skill building, how many of you ask for referrals on a regular basis? So if you were to ask for referrals on a regular basis, how would you ask for them? What would that look like?
Hey, Michael,
What's up?
I do not ask on a regular basis, and it's one of those things that the system around that, I want to flesh out. So now I see Adrian raised her hand, so I'll be calling Adrian, finding out what she does. And then I'll circle around to your office and find out how you do it. But this is something I totally drop the ball on all the time.
Adrian, what do you do to ask for referrals?
It depends on who I'm talking to. But of course, you know, as we're going through the process and we're at closing, we always ask for feedback. And I do want feedback on how I can improve too. Because anything that I've done that could have been done better, I like that feedback from our buyers or sellers. And then just letting them know that our business is built on referrals. And we, you know, of course, would so appreciate if they, you know, knew anyone that was looking to buy or sell, if they would refer us. And we do ask, you know, would you refer us if you knew anybody? And if they say yes, then of course we stay on top of that. But we, for our buyers, throw housewarming parties. So once they've said yes, we invite everybody to the housewarming party, and it's a very soft meet. Because they, of course, introduce us as their agent, and everyone always asks how the housing market is. We can collect that information and nurture them appropriately. So my approach is very soft, not as direct as they teach in like Bold or whatnot, just because my personality is just a little bit different than the way they teach it. But that seems to work for us and our team.
I like it. So everybody knows Crystal on my team, right?
Everybody loves Crystal if they know Crystal.
Okay, everybody loves Crystal on my team, right?
Right.
100%.
There you go. So the way Crystal and I met is I actually sold her a house. And during the time when I sold her the house, I never asked her for a referral. And then when she called me, said, hey, I want to be an agent, she got licensed, joined the team and so forth. And, you know, I started rolling out, hey, you know, asking for referrals and so forth. She's like, you should have asked me when I was buying a house, because I knew 2 people buying houses at that time. Big light bulb went off in my head saying, gee, I should have started asking for referrals a long time ago. Versus whenever she joined like 5 years ago or whatever. So I think, you know, if you're early in your career like Gabriella and Scott, figuring out how to ask for referrals early on in your business will help grow your business a lot faster than if you don't ask at all. I think there's a couple different ways to ask. You know, if you're just having, let's say, you're doing a care call and you're just checking in on the client, you know, hey, how you doing? How's the family? You guys got anything fun planned this year? Blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, you get the small talk out of the way. Then it could be simple as, hey, you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you if you knew of anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Oh, you do? Great. Can I have their info? Or, hey, no worries. Thanks for taking a minute to think about it. If anybody does come to mind, please give me a call with their info. Right? It could be like Adrian, right? Let's throw a party and I get to meet all your friends and family. Everybody know who Tim Heil is?
Yeah.
Yes.
So Tim Heil is an agent out of Austin, Texas, and he's got a pretty good sized team, and he's recently done expansion and so forth. But what he does is whenever an agent on his team closes a deal, his sales manager or himself will call the client. And the conversations, hey client, this is Michael with Distinct Group. You recently bought a home with Crystal. I just wanted to check in and see how your experience was. Client will say, yeah, it was fantastic, blah, blah, blah. Anything we could have done better, you have that conversation. And then you ask for the referral. Hey, well, I've got you on the phone. Do you currently know of anybody thinking about buying or selling? And then that's another way they generate referrals. So they've got it on the team level where the agents are asking, and then they've got it on the leadership level where Tim or his sales managers are asking. So Cody Gibson, what he does is he has a survey that he sends to the closer. And then the closer at closing has the buyer or seller fill out that survey form. Because his approach is, you know, if you're at closing, you're gonna fill out and sign everything in front of you. So he has the closer put the survey in front of them. And one of the questions on the survey is, who do you know that's thinking about buying or selling? So it doesn't even require a phone call on his part. TC sends it out, and on the survey, they ask for the referral at closing. So I think there's more than one way to ask for a referral. How can we increase our METs? What do you think? Gwen, what are you doing to increase your database?
At this point, I'm working on contacting my entire database. So I'm doing a fair amount of deleting because it's large enough that I don't get to everyone. And they're not people that would even know who I was if I called them up. So I am concentrating right now on getting quality, not quantity.
So how do you grow quality then? Once you're done cleaning up your database?
Well, that's what Charlotte and I were actually talking about this morning. She's like, how can I help? You know, contact everybody or smart plan or whatever. And I said, I just need to call people. I'm like, I have really stunk at this and, or let myself push it down the road. And I can't do that anymore. I have to get on the phone. So that's what I'm doing. And then finding out those questions, you know, there's 3 questions that David Heffiker asked, but one of them is, do you have an agent that you would, that you already know, like, and trust that you refer your business to, your friends and family and people that you would come across? And if that answer is no, then can I earn that business? If the answer is yes, can I earn that business? It's the same.
Yeah.
But then you approach them a little bit differently on, you know, what that looks like, because then you're trying to be, it matters if you're number 1 or number 2. Remember that whole brand recognition thing. You don't want to be number 3. So that's where I am right now.
I like it. So as you're cleaning up your database, are you looking at how your database correlates to your goals? And what I mean by that is MREA says, what is it? For every 6 people in your database, you should get 1 piece of business, right?
Right.
So if you wanted to sell, I don't know, 60 homes, how many people do you need in your database?
You said 1 and 6, so 6 times that.
Yep. So with that math, are we being mindful that, hey, if I want to do this much production, this is what my database needs to look like?
I'm shaking my head. Yes.
Well,
Uh-huh.
turn your camera on so folks can see you shaking your head.
Okay, there.
There you go.
I was eating my lunch.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something, and most of my business has been referral out of the previous, you know, even if somebody's not ready now, they refer me, or it's somebody from church. So it's primarily been the Mets. And I've had a few sign calls, I'll call them.
There you go.
Yep. I don't know why those are hitting all of a sudden, but that's been a good thing. And knowing how to do it when it does hit. I've been able to convert those.
There you go.
And your amazing assistant cold called for you and got some calls. So-
Right. And set an appointment and we listed it.
So as we talk about, you know, the 1 in 6 number, you just expand that to your lead gen. So for example, Scott, right, eventually you're going to be able to say, okay, for every 500 people that I dial, I'm going to be able to connect with 50 out of every 50, I'm gonna end up listing 2 houses and I'm gonna end up closing one of them, or whatever that number is, right?
Yep.
So you're gonna be able to build, based on your goals, you're gonna know how many people you need to talk to. Or it could be internet leads, right? For every 100 internet leads I generate, I sell 1 house. So then if I wanna sell 10 houses, you just gotta generate 1,000 internet leads, right?
Right.
So I think this is where tracking your numbers is important, especially for you new agents. Right, as you build your business and as you say, hey, I wanna make this much money this year, then you can work the math backwards. If I wanna make this much money, I need to do this level of activity. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So has anybody started exactly what to say? Has anybody cracked the book and read it yet? Okay, neither have I, so.
I cracked it, but I didn't read it yet.
Has anybody read it yet?
I got a page.
You read a page?
Yep.
Well, fill in the group. What'd you think so far?
I think it's good. It's great.
So what about follow-up? As an experienced agent, Adrian, what does your follow-up plan or your follow-up system look like?
I tag everything in Command. When I first started in real estate, of course, it's nice to have the smart plans that go out. And that can be used as a tool, but you shouldn't rely on those. If you've got, and do what you say you're going to do, right? So if you're at an open house and you know that tomorrow, because I take every Sunday off, for instance, and I know that I'm not going to be making any calls tomorrow. I'm not going to tell anyone I'm making calls tomorrow. I will say, great, I will get you that information. I'll be in contact with you Monday. Does 9 o'clock work? And come Monday at 9 o'clock, I better call you, right? So I think that's the important thing, is just setting the expectations and doing what you say you're going to do, and don't overcommit to items, and use technology as a tool, but don't hide behind the technology, because they can tell.
Agreed. What about long-term follow-up? What's the longest you follow up with a client before they turn into a deal?
Well, it depends. I mean, I've had some that it's taken 7 years. So you're on a quarterly call plan, and I'm going to call you until you tell me to stop calling you, or there's a real reason, right? And most people don't. Now, to Gwen's point, I know she's cleaning up her database, and I've done that to a point, and we have a little bit of a different system where we tag our clients as A, B, C, and D people. D is basically you're dead to me. So I'm not going to erase you, but I'm going to put that on there if you tell me to go jump in a lake or something, which most people don't. But there's no reason. I mean, people buy and sell homes all the time. Everyone needs a place to live. So just because I found out you recently bought through somebody else, which has happened because sometimes my follow-up isn't as good as it should be. I find out basically what I could have done to improve. I apologize for anything I could have done better, and they still become on my follow-up for next time.
Adrian's a better person than I am.
Not true, not even a little.
Let's talk about the anger that I go through as I'm deleting people. You're dead to me. Yes.
But this way, if they ever call on a listing or something, I still have all my notes for them. So they're in my D group, but I never send them anything because they're in my dead to me group. But if they call, I can say, oh yeah, I talked to you a couple years ago. How's such and such? And they're shocked, right? As all get up that I even remembered who they are. I don't remember who they are. I just
like
always
it.
plug a name in before I start talking to somebody.
I like it.
I agree, talked about it yesterday, fortunes in the follow-up. You know, just because they're not a right now deal, a right now client. Doesn't mean they won't bring you business several years down the road. So, you know, as newer agents, having some type of long-term follow-up plan, such as Adrian's, I'm gonna call you once a quarter, right? It's gonna go a long way to help you build your business. All right, why are we here? To talk about open houses, to turn haven't mets into Mets. Who in here currently does open houses?
I used to,
Why'd you stop?
COVID. Then I did, no, seriously, I did one the weekend we got shut down on Saturday, had it sold by Monday, so it was all good. And I did one with Angela Thompson, that weird way where you had, no, I think I've done two during COVID where you did, you know, a tent outside, had everybody sign in. They had to be directional going through the house and all that. And some of that I liked, and I'll be keeping it as we go into post-pandemic, whatever this is, because I think we get by better leads. We get the contact information that we get is more accurate.
So how are you getting contact information at these open houses?
Well, once the, okay, so during the pandemic, previously it was like sign up here and you got Mickey Mouse and who knows who. And it was even, I got better information when I had them fill it out on like an iPad or a tablet or something, because I don't know why. But then once we started, the pandemic happened and we had to do it with the directional and all that. What we did was we had a tent outside and they had to sign up to be able to go in, only one group of people going in at a time. And we texted, we got their information, had them text us their email, and we already were getting their information. So their name, if it's two people, Jim and John Smith, here's my email. They're texting it to me, so I have a good phone number. Then I text them back the COVID buyer advisory. I know I have good information. I hear it go ding or vibrate in that guy's pocket. And I go, did you get it? And then he says, yep. Well, now he knows the risk that he takes on by being a buyer during a pandemic. And some version of that I want to keep when I do open houses again, because there was zero room for it being fake information. I mean, their name could be fake, but I have their phone number.
Yeah.
That's genius, Gwen.
Right? I will say that Angela Thompson is the one who came up with it, but it came because of COVID. There are a few things that I like about the COVID thing. And that's one of them.
I mean, I think that makes sense, right? It's like, look, it's for exposure tracking. Need to know how to get a hold of you, right? I don't know.
Yeah, and if monkeypox comes here, then we have it for that.
Yep.
See, we just keep it going.
So open houses are the easiest, simplest, fastest, and cheapest way to grow your business. Who agrees with that statement? Why, Gwen?
I used to call, when I was with the other brokerage, I would call anybody who put their house on the market, any agent putting their house on the market on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that, that didn't already have an open house scheduled. And my Saturday was for open houses. It might have been one for the morning, it might have been one for the afternoon, or both. But I tried to do 2 open houses a weekend, just looking for buyers coming in. Those looky-loos are going to be buyers one day. People don't look for just the sake of it. They are in the market. You just don't know how far out they are from today to their close date. And that's what you're trying to discover. And enough people that you're plugging into your pipeline is going to do the 1 in 6 thing in your database.
So I wanna go back and hit on something. You said you just called any listing that hit the MLS? Like,
Yep.
You didn't have a relationship with these people and
Nope.
they
I
even-
just started.
Or what?
I started in January of 2018 and I just got on the MLS because that's what my broker told me to do. Who learned under Donna, I will say. But that's what she told me to do is get on there and call. If they don't have an open house, that was in 2018. That's what you did. You put a house on the market and you scheduled an open house. If they didn't have one scheduled when it hit the market, then I'm there saying, hey, I would love to hold your house open. Is that okay? A lot of people, Remax, would say, no, you can't because we're not allowed to, blah, 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 which is BS. As far as I know, it's BS. It's just their own personal rule.
Mhm.
But if I'm not willing to do that for my client and my client will allow it, I probably also want to say that it's not allowed so that I don't have to tell my client that some other agent from another brokerage is willing to hold their house open, but I'm not. So I got some people who said yes and some people who said no. More said no.
I think it's a
I know.
numbers game, right?
It
Like,
is it's always a numbers game.
You know, you talk to 100 listing agents, I'm sure you're gonna get at least what, 5-10% that say yes?
I only needed 2.
Yep.
So I just talked to him until I got my 2. And if that was how I was gonna work my Saturday, Sunday, that's what I did. Sometimes you get them. I had somebody said, oh, it has to be a mega. And I was like, I can do a mega. And then I had to call somebody and say, what the heck is a mega? So, but that was okay. We just figured it out.
So what's a mega?
That's bunches of signs. It might be more than one agent. You're driving a lot of traffic. That's the idea behind it, is you're doing something bigger than what somebody else's sign or open house looks like.
So Gabriella, Scott, who else is on here that's new? Kathy, Ursulina,
Sheena,
yep.
Yep.
Good way to let you to build a business. Just look in MLS, what listings just hit the market. And it doesn't have to be just hit the market, right? It could be, hey, this listing's been sitting for 2-3 weeks. Let me go do an open house.
I've done that. And everyone's like, oh, who are you with? Keller Williams? Yeah, you're not from our like people, but
Yeah, it's a numbers game. All you need is one, right?
Well, and if you start with our office, you're probably more likely to get a yes, because I know with me personally, I'll do whatever I can for my sellers. And if I can do more open houses by having other agents hold them, by all means, right? With that being said, not all agents get the same training that we get. In fact, most don't. We have incredible training through Keller Williams. And so I wouldn't necessarily say yes to somebody I didn't know from another office, not because it's against the rules or anything like that. It more just because, do I know for a fact that you're going to lock up? Do I know you're going to, show up on time? Are you going to leave early, even though I've advertised it till 4 because you're slow? Like, those are the questions. Like, once I know you, you can hold any of mine open. So I would start here within the office and then call as many people as you can. I mean, Gwen is super convincing. She got people outside of KW to agree to let her hold them open. So I would listen to what she's doing.
right? It's what Michael said. It's just a matter of calling. And you know what I started doing is, because I got a lot of no's from Remax, I would just sort them out. I would make sure that the way that I did my single line display, I did it by days on market, and I was hitting, in 2018, I was hitting the newest ones first. But I would look, if they were Remax, I would just pass them by. But if they're like Joe Blow, if Joe Blow is listing it, it's Joe Blow brokerage, he might be wanting to go to the lake. Well, I'm here to help you, so you don't have to do that. You don't have to do the open house. And you can go back to your client and say, hey, found somebody who's a rock star at open houses and they're willing to do this. Can we agree to this? And then they give me authorization and here I go. So I'd start with those and just skip Remax, and I think Caldwell Banker was also one of those ones that just said no. Keller Williams too, but you don't have that problem because now you can say you're with Keller Williams and they'll let you hold the house open.
So at an open house, are you at the open house to sell the house or pick up buyers and sellers?
Yes.
Answers both, right? So I think buyers, everybody gets picking up buyers from open houses. How do you pick up sellers from open houses?
People need to sell their house to buy a new house.
Maybe. You have buyers who come into the house, have something to sell before they buy.
Door knock around the open house you're doing.
There you go. How does
That's what
that
I was gonna say, Scott.
What was the question, Michael?
How's that get you sellers?
Well, I mean, statistically speaking, when one house sells in a neighborhood, one or two more houses will sell within a certain window. So if you're doing an open house that's going to sell, statistically speaking, someone else is going to be selling in the neighborhood. So you play the numbers. That's my thought. I don't know if it's right or not, but
What can you do in the open house to have more conversations centered around sellers?
you could do a pre-open house for the neighborhood and invite the neighbors over ahead of time. That's something I haven't done it myself, but I've heard of that approach.
What if you have a wall of comps in the open house? So when you get a neighbor in and the neighbor says, yeah, I live in the area, I just wanted to check out the house, just wanted to look. And you have a wall of comps here. And now all of a sudden you direct looky-loo neighbor to your wall of comps. And now you're having a conversation about what's sold in the neighborhood and potentially what his home can sell for. Would that help move the conversation along in terms of picking looky-loo neighbor up as a client?
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one before. That's good.
What if you had another wall of other active properties in the area? So if you have a buyer who's walking around and says, this really isn't what we're looking for, no problem. Look at this wall. Here's a listing of everything within a half-mile radius. Any of these interest you? Because I'm closing up at 4, I'll meet you there at 4:30. So 100 buyers, 44 visit an open house, 5 buyers use an agent from the open house, 39 buyers leave open house, unrepresented or represented by another agent. So what kind of opportunity does this tell you about open houses? I think first you have to figure out how to get 100 buyers in the door. Gwen, on your average open house, how many buyers do you get through the door?
Not 100.
So how do we get 100?
Well, I think coupling a drawing like what we talked about yesterday, that might be something to try.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee you, if they think they're going to win $100 gift card or this cooler, you might get better information.
100%. I totally agree.
I was always told that the amount of signs you put out will basically like 1 versus 1 on buyers. And I feel like that's been true with ours because we usually do about 20 signs and we usually have between 12 and 20 buyers. So I would say you'd probably have to put out 100 signs.
Couldn't hurt. Better than putting out
Unless Highlands Ranch takes them all.
Right. Then that was a very expensive day. Yes.
But while we're talking about this, right, it's, you know, Anna says it a lot, right? It's all the work that goes into all the prep work, and then you do the open house, and then it's all the work after, right? All the follow-up and so forth afterwards. So which agent is gonna be more successful at the open house? We have agent A, who shows up 5 minutes before the open house, puts up 5 signs, and then does the open house. We have agent B, who starts advertising the open house a week before, who door knocks the neighborhood, who cold calls the neighborhood, who puts out 100 signs several hours before the open house, who has a raffle at the open house, who's advertising the open house on social media. Which agent's gonna have a better open house? Agent B,
Definitely B.
right? So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of agents get turned off from open houses, is because we'll go put out a handful of signs 15 minutes before the open house is supposed to start. We do the open house and we get 3 people in, and we're like, well, that sucked, right? But if we start doing more activities and we get more people in the door, then you start seeing these numbers. Even if you got 50 people and your numbers were half of this, could you build a business on 50% of these numbers? And you did it every week? You'd probably build a pretty good business. So let's think about the best open house we've ever attended or held. What made it special or memorable? How were you treated? What were the results? How many leads generated? Gwen, what was your best open house ever?
I'm thinking. It wasn't my own. I did it with with my broker, my old broker. Was her listing, it was like more of a happy hour open house. And I think that I don't know how many leads there were, because that's not what I was there for. So I can't really answer that part of it, but it was easier for me to connect with people because it was a beautiful home, staged really well. There was something else to do besides walking or just walking around. It was almost like a broker open house. But it was a different clientele, and it was just a lot easier for me. I'm an introvert, even though I don't sound like it. And these things are exhausting to me. And this one was actually fun when I was leaving.
What about you, Adrian?
There's been several, but the one that sticks out, it was a unique property. And so we did have a lot of attendance, but it was also, to your point, the open houses where I prepared for them ahead of time. Because we have both, right? There have been times that a seller wants you to put their home on the market quickly. And all of a sudden, if you want to hold the open house, you miss a couple of days in advertising, and which means you miss some of your steps. So I would say the house itself, it backed to Cherry Creek Reservoir. It was absolutely stunning and very unique. It was right off the main road, so it was super easy to sign. We put out a ton of signs. And then of course we door knocked the area ahead of time and just put the effort into it. I mean, that's really what it boils down to, is if you're running around and doing it last minute, which I've done, I've been guilty of, and you're not prepared, then you don't show up like you're prepared. Whereas if you put the effort into it ahead of time, not only with the advertising, but pulling the other homes that are available in the area for people that don't like that home for any reason, as well as I've never done the wall of comps, but I'm definitely going to start that. But just having information for the people that might be looking in the area to see what their house is worth. Conversations are much better if you're prepared for them.
I agree. So open houses are only for new agents looking for buyers. Truth is, experienced agents continue to leverage open houses to generate both buyer and seller leads. I agree with that. And I think you can just scale it based on your numbers, right? So if you're looking to do X amount of business this month or this year, you just do more open houses and you'll scale your business. I don't have any listings, so I can't hold an open house, use another agents. We talked about that. Agents sit open houses, great agents work open houses. What do you think that means?
The preparation that you just were talking about.
Let's talk about during an open house. Especially Gwen, the introvert. How are you having conversations with people that go into the open house? Are you saying, hey, welcome in, go and take a look, let me know if you have any questions? People breeze on through and then leave and you really didn't have a good conversation? Or are you having a deeper conversation and how are you doing that?
Yeah, sometimes I go in all hyped up and I can talk to every single person, find out, hey, what brought you in today? Did you see a sign? You know, want to find out what work did I already do that brought you here, because I need to do more of that. And other times, I mean, honestly, I'm just like, oh my gosh, here comes somebody again. And it's exhausting. I come home and I'm just like dead. But if you're going to be out there, do it, work it. Do not just sit like a fly on the wall. It is my pet peeve when I visit them to see what they're going to do. I don't follow people around though. So, you know, finding that balance is something to be found. I don't think you need to follow them around to find out what they're there for, what they're looking for. If this fits the bill, is this should we write up the offer today? You know, knowing what to say, like the book that Anna is talking about. What do you say at an open house? What will get to the meat of the motivation of somebody coming in? And we're just looking is not their motivation. Do you know how to dig from there?
So how do you dig from there?
I want to know next, like, did you see the sign? How did you find out? If they're just looking and they found out because I door knocked them or I left them a flyer on the door, then I know they live in the neighborhood and they're just looking is they're curious. It's a whole different thing than I'm looking for decorating ideas. So you just ask the next question, and it depends on for me, it depends on their demeanor, I think, on how I'll go from there. Are you looking for decorating ideas? You know, if they're a joker, if they don't look like they're joking and they're super stoic, they're probably curious about what the market's doing and if this is a neighbor or not. Maybe you're asking, are you a neighbor? Do you live in the area? What drew you to this neighborhood? It depends, but you need to have a pocket full of questions to do an open house, I think.
I agree. I've also heard, you know, other strategies that agents use is, you know, they'll put up signs all over the house and it's just a whole bunch of different types of call to actions. Do you want to know what your home's worth? Ask me. Do you want a list of other homes for sale in the neighborhood? Ask me. Do you want a list of foreclosures? Ask me. Like, he's just got these signs in every different, you know, in all these different rooms. And, you know, he lets the signs do the work for him. And then people come back to him and they say, yeah, I want to know what my home's worth. Or he's got some kind of offer, right? You know, would you be interested in a cash offer on your home? Ask me how. Right, and so he's just got these signs posted throughout the house, as people go through the house. They're in the master bedroom, on the bed's a sign, they're in the master bath, on the mirror's a sign. And, you know, they've just gone through this house and something piqued their interest, they go back to him and they say, hey. Yeah, I'd like to know what my home's worth, and yes, I'd like a free list of properties. So I think both, right, so you could have a pocket full of questions, you could have a wall of comps, wall of available properties. And just offers sprinkled throughout the house. Would you like my lender to call you to give you a free pre-approval? Would you like $1,000 in free closing cost money? Right? What other strategies do you use to work the open house versus sit in the open house? What do you do, Adrian?
I'm guilty of not doing an open house in a couple of years, and that I intend to change that. So it's really just, for me, I don't follow them around, much like Gwen. I used to not appreciate that before I became a realtor, and I would go into open houses. I would get out of there as quickly as possible if that were the case. But the questions, you know, what do you think of the house? I feel like is an easy way for them to go, oh, I didn't either like it, or, oh yeah, it was great, and then walk out. So, you know, just more specific questions, depending on where they came from. You know, I do try to figure out if they're a buyer or seller through my questions. And then, you know, asking them things like when they say, oh, I'm just looking for decorating ideas. Oh, great. What areas of your home are you looking to redecorate? Because that starts the conversation as far as maybe they're going to tell you all the things they hate about their home that they want to change. And then that conversation goes, well, would you be open to a market study? It could be easier for you to sell your home and buy something like this that's already fixed up, or wherever that conversation leads. Or instead of, oh yeah, it was nice, great, what was your favorite part? I love to provide feedback to the seller. Well, really what you're trying to do is get them to actually open up to you. So I think much like when you're on listing appointments, it's really just about really listening to their answers to come up with your next question, because they are there for a reason. Most people don't just go to open houses for fun. They say they go to open houses for fun. But there's usually something they're looking for.
I totally agree.
So I didn't want to forget to say this. I have the small little clipboards and a survey that I have done this, not often enough that it became a system. But I passed them out a survey, had them answer questions about the house, and then bring it back to me, and then they went into a drawing.
There you go. I like it.
I do the surveys too, because the digital is awesome as far as getting the right information, but I tried that through one of the platforms, and what I was missing is they would enter their own information. And so I like Gwen's idea of then it texting them something right away, so you know if it's legit. But at the same time, it's hard to write notes. So the system that I was using temporarily, it went into my database, which was super easy for me, but I wasn't able to, as soon as they left, turn their form over and say they wore the Broncos hat and they were talking about living here. And basically I write an entire page of notes on the back of that form. And that's the part that you're missing with the digital. So I went back to paper for that same kind of reason.
Yeah, you can make notes and remember them. This way when you're doing your follow-up, if you had a great conversation about the Broncos or whatever, right? It's easy to recall. So it looks like here's an agent. She does 5 to 6 homes every Sunday. She prospects and markets the open house, and she gets results from open houses. What would your life look like if you did 5 to 6 open houses every Sunday?
Chaotic.
But I think she's got a pretty good business if she's doing 5 to 6 every Sunday. What do you think? Too much? Or let's go?
Well, I think it depends on your goals, and I'm gonna guess that she has a team that when they say she does, this is a
Yep.
team that does. Because 5 or 6 homes in a Sunday is more hours than there are, you know, if you're doing them for 2 hours. So I'm thinking it's a team, and then doing the door knocking and all that kind of stuff around it. I think there's more to that than just that.
Yeah, I agree. So for agents in the growth phase, open houses produce buyers, sellers, and referrals. Set a goal for your open house. Do everything to get as many people in there as possible. Hold consistent weekend open houses. And this is a cool idea. We haven't talked about it, but you know, you team up with others and you do 5 or 6. So, I mean, what I've done in the past is, you know, you look at your neighborhood and there's 5, 6 other homes for sale in the neighborhood. You call all those listing agents and then all of you are doing open houses Saturday from 12 to 4 or whatever. And this way, everybody's marketing like a neighborhood open house event. Right, so who, you know, so you've got agent number 1 that's marketing, number 2 that's marketing, number 3, all the way to number 6. You've got 6 agents marketing open houses in this neighborhood. What kind of traffic do you think you're gonna get?
It's the same kind of traffic that you get when there's a neighborhood yard sales
Yeah,
versus I'm doing one yard sale and then over in that neighborhood way over there, they're doing a yard sale.
yep.
Totally different. I love that.
Be the market agent. Or prepare and promote. Quality leads, build trust, follow up, and you're gonna be the number 1 agent. Goals decides which to open, stage the house, prepare to build relationships, prepare to be the neighborhood and market expert. How would you be the neighborhood market expert in the open house?
Your wall of comps will do it.
Here you go. Let's talk about safety in an open house. Everybody heard the story about the realtor who's doing an open house? And that guy came in and sprayed her with bear spray or something, or pepper spray or something?
When she shot his ass.
She sure did. I don't think she hit him, but she shot at him. But
Sorry, y'all, I have no filter.
what are some strategies to keep you safe at an open house? You could do it with a partner. Right? You don't want to be alone in this open house with strangers. What else could you do?
Well, you could carry a gun and shoot his ass, as Gwen said.
Yeah, you could do that.
I carry a stun gun.
Me too. I carry a taser. I've never had to use it, thankfully.
And I think it applies for both men and women. Right? It doesn't just have to be these tips only apply to a certain group. Everybody know what the red file is?
Yes, but I guarantee you those new people don't.
I do, Gwen.
Yay!
Well, Gabriella, tell us what the red file is.
Okay, so you call the office and you're like, hey, I need a red file for my address. And then they're gonna ask you if they need to call 911 for you. And you can either answer yes or no, or it'll be like, do you want me to send cops to the property? You say yes or no. Or then I'll ask you if you want them to just stay on the phone until you're like safe. Or it'll be like, there's something else, but can't remember the last one.
I think that's the gist of it. But it doesn't have to be the office. Right?
It's been,
It could be anybody, as long as they know what the procedure is, right? Like you could call Gwen and say, hey Gwen, I need you to get the red file on 123 Main Street for me. because Gwen knows what that means, she can help you, right? It doesn't, it's not only, you gotta call the office number. Right?
For sure. I love that when I first heard that. Is that done at onboarding, Gabby? Is that where you heard about it?
No, I was just, I was just looking for like the packet that's just like in the resources and it's in there.
Oh, I think I heard about it during my onboarding.
No, I had to like dig for it.
Oh, I think that should be in our onboarding, especially as we're coming into open houses again.
What are some other things we can do?
Whoever your trusted person is that should know where you are, in my case, it's my husband. He should know where I am and when I expect to be home. And then I have an obligation then to make sure that I don't get caught up and be driving home and he's panicking. You know, let him know I'm here, I'm doing this, this is what's going on, so and so just left. Updates.
Yep. So open house goals, numbers of leads you want to get. Number of haven't mets converted to mets, number of buyers, number of sellers. Percentage of attendance to number of invites. Number of open houses you'll work at a given time. Decide which houses to hold open. Is the house high traffic? Would you rather hold a house open that's off a busy street or tucked away in the middle of nowhere? Does the house have special features? Is the house in a desirable neighborhood? Does the house have curb appeal? What do you see when you walk in the door? Do you have a seller's open house checklist? I think this is important. I've done open houses on, house that was vacant. And you walk in and there's dead flies everywhere and it's all dusty. The bathrooms are nasty. Right? I think it's a good idea to probably preview the house before you do the open house, right? Before you just spend all this time marketing and prospecting this house. And then you show up and this thing's filthy. And you're about to do an open house on it.
What if it is filthy? Do you clean it?
I don't know, do you?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to clean someone else's toilet.
What do you think, Gwen? Adrian, do you clean it?
I don't go around cleaning homes, no. I would wipe off something from a counter if it was spilled or whatnot. But the expectations are set with the seller ahead of time so that has not been an issue before. But no, I have my own house to clean, so no, I haven't, not for an open house.
I haven't ever had this be an issue before that I wasn't the one who was in it last. I think this might come up where, like you said, the vacant, or maybe it's a flip and they were just in there doing drywall and now you've got drywall dust everywhere, something like that. And yeah, I don't really know if I've already put out signs and stuff, because that's my biggest pet peeve probably, or pain point on an open house. I don't know if I would Swiffer it real quick or something like that, that might help it.
Oh, Swiffering 100%. I heard Gabby say cleaning toilets. I'm
I'm not doing that.
interested in cleaning toilets. I'm just going to put the toilet seat down at that point.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
And tie a
open
ribbon
it,
on it as
like,
if
oh.
it's as if it's sanitized or something.
Right.
I have a list of questions that you'll ask guests to build rapport. So Gwen, you've got a pocket full of questions. What are those questions to build rapport?
Well, it's what brings you in? How did you hear about us? Did you see our sign? Sometimes I'm asking, did that sign blow over that's right over blah, 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 blah. And because it's less related to, doesn't sound salesy. And everybody's like, I just don't want to be, sound salesy and a whatever. And that's rarely the case. What do you like? What's your favorite feature? Can you see yourself living here? Are you looking to make an offer today? Can I write that up for you? That's still not salesy.
I agree.
I don't feel like.
I think those are all great questions. I think eye contact, smile, don't be a nervous wreck. You know what I mean? How will you tell the neighborhood history? What do people really want to know? Have you prepared an information packet? So that's a good idea. Right, you can ask the seller questions like, why do you love living in this neighborhood? And once you understand why they love living in the neighborhood, you can tell people coming into the open house why the neighborhood's so great. What about an information packet? What would go into an information packet that you'd be able to hand out? What do you think, Adrian?
Well, you could have two, one that has more comps and market appreciation in the neighborhood over the last, months, years, whatever you want to do. And then one that would be more the benefits of buying other homes in the neighborhood. So you could have two you could have two packets to give out depending on who you're talking to, or you could make a packet that is really centered around both, because there is, you could do something that would appeal to sellers and buyers. But usually, if you're looking at, sellers looking at what the market's been doing and the appreciation, that might be something that, could scare a buyer, even though it is good to get in right now, right? So that's why you could do two. Since I haven't done them for a couple of years and I do intend to get back into them, honestly, I need to redo the information that we have because it's not as good as I would like it to be.
Yeah, I love the idea of two separate packets, right? One packet for what buyers want to know, and then another packet for what sellers want to know. Safety, check rooms for an escape route, check backyard for high fences, check cell phone strength, notify a friend to call at certain times, walk behind guests during the tour. Should I prospect or should I market? What's the difference? What do you think, Gwen?
Both. How about that?
So prospecting is you're out there seeking leads, so you're door knocking. You could be circle prospecting. Positively attracting leads. Do you have the right mindset? Power of signage. We've talked about this. The more signs, the better. So your signs, you want to brand yourself, put your name in large print on all your signs. People will see your name over and over again. You've got the directional signs, the open house signs. Invest in a large quantity of signs, have your name in large print. Use colorful balloons. I've seen people use flags or pinwheels. 10 or more signs. Put out signs the day before the open, put out signs 5 days before the open house. I think that's kind of aggressive. What do you guys think? Too much?
If they're still there when you want to pick them up, I'm fine with it.
Ask neighbors with corner lots to place signs, place directional signs. Have your phone number on open house lawn sign. How to promote the open house, newspapers, mail outs, MLS, internet. Homesopentoday.com. I wonder if that's still a thing. Probably not, huh? So we've talked about the list of questions. How else can we build trust with buyers and sellers? What do you think, Scott? Adrian, what do you think?
Well, just be genuine. I mean, that's when you're talking, to be genuine. And if you're new and you don't know the answer, that's okay. People respect if you say, you know what, that's a really great question. I don't have the answer, but if, let me just make sure I wrote down your phone number correctly. I will make sure I get you an answer by whatever day, whatever time, and then just make sure you call them. So I think the biggest thing is just be honest and genuine with everything you're saying, and you will build that rapport.
I totally agree. I think, you know, you want to make it about them. You don't want to make it about yourself or trying to sell the house, right? You don't want to seem like, you know, you're just trying to get a commission. Make it about them, make it about their needs. So have you prepared and promoted your open house with consistent, high quality? Have you internalized your scripts? Have you written your goals and action plan for the open house? Have you considered what your guests will be looking for? Look for clues on how you can meet their needs. Find out what is motivating your guests to come to your open house. Ask about their family and school needs. I think that's a really good one. Ask what, where, why, when, and who questions. Qualify quickly when multiple groups arrive at the same time. So how would you handle that if you had a rush of people who came in all at once? What do you do, Adrian?
Well, that's the only way they come in. They never trickle in. It's, you sit there for a half an hour and then 10 people walk in. Well, at that point, you are going to have to determine, you know, who's truly working with agents. You're going to have to go back and forth and not ignore anybody, but you might have to make choices as far as who you spend the most time with.
I agree. You have a rush of people come in and half of them are already working with an agent. I'm spending my time with the other half people.
Correct, yeah.
So you're getting something positive and distinct about the home right when they come in, set a positive tone. Ask them what
I
market.
think
they're in. Go
having
ahead.
that value item,
Mhm.
like that call to action piece, that would be valuable here.
Yeah.
That survey, raffle.
So arrange to drop off or send them information, right? Like Adrian said, make sure you follow through. Sign your guest book, right? Whatever you're doing, whether it's a raffle or you're doing it electronically, or you're doing it on a piece of paper that allows you to take notes, I think you definitely need to have a way figured out on how you're gonna collect their contact info. Like when, text me, and I'm gonna text you back, right? You gotta have a way to collect information. You gotta ask for the business, you gotta ask for the referrals. Would you like to buy this house? Would you like to buy, you know, are you in the market for a house? Who do you know that might like to see this house? Thank them, make notes, like Adrian said, she's got a page of notes on each guest. And I think this is great. Activities when no guests are present. Make calls, send notes, emails, and work your database. Just because you're sitting at an open house and nobody's there, doesn't mean you get on YouTube. Right? Work while you're at the open house. I think that's a great one. Scripts for conversations. Why do you want to be in control of the conversation? How do you know you're in control of the conversation?
Because you're asking the questions.
You know, you're asking questions and your questions are directing the conversation. Why is that important?
Because if you're not in control, they're just gonna talk about the weather and you're never actually gonna know why they're in there.
There you go. Watch the instructor demonstrate some of the key open house scripts in this section. I'm going to defer to Adrian on this one.
Okay.
Demonstrate.
Demonstrate, okay. Well, a lot of what Gwen had said when, are the same things I of course say too. When somebody walks in, you greet them, welcome to the open house. What brings you in today? And just kind of small talk initially at first to get them to open up. But I always look for body language to determine who I'm dealing with. Am I dealing with more of an I or more of a D, right? To kind of lead the conversation. If it's more of an I, we could sit and chat all day because I can be that way as well. If it's more of a D, it's more getting to the point. So I'm not sure if that's really what you were looking for.
But I think that's great, right? Understanding what type of personality they have. Are they super chatty Cathy, or are they super analytical, or are they just, give me the bullet points and let me look at the house? Right? Because if they're give me the bullet points so I can look at the house quickly, you don't want to sit there and go through your whole script with them. Right?
Right. And, this is the part that I would say has been my biggest challenge in real estate, has been sticking to scripts. On our team, we do more objection handling than script practice. Because if you're listening deep, then it's like throw out the objections and then what would you say to that objection in this scenario? That's more what we practice rather than scripts. So that part is a little bit more difficult for me to lead on because I just pay attention to who's walking in the door.
So let's talk about follow-up. You want to make sure that everybody you meet at the open house makes it into your database. Because if they don't make it into your database and you don't set reminders to follow up, such as quarterly calls or what have you, then what'd you do the open house for in the first place?
Wasted 6 hours
Yo,
plus the days before.
yo. You want to follow up with the seller. I think that's important. Let your seller know how the open house went. Let the listing agent know how the open house went. I think the listing agent that allowed you to hold their listing open, if you call them and you say, hey, had a great open house, had 50 people come through. We've got several buyers that are potentially interested that I'll be following up with. House showed great, but here was the feedback, blah, blah, blah. I think the listing agent would really appreciate that. And next time you call the listing agent and ask them to hold the listings open, they'll be more inclined to let you look at the house. Follow up with guests, follow up with visiting agents. So your guests could be buyers who buy with you, sellers who list with you. Just overall clients that could be, or overall just, people you've met that could be clients one day. You've got agents who stop by, you could recruit those agents and grow your profit share. And any of the above could refer business to you. So if they're not in the market, Are you asking them for, are you staying in touch, building that relationship, building that trust and rapport and asking for referrals? So what were your ahas today? Adrian, any ahas today?
Yeah, there were a lot of reminders. My biggest aha was the wall of CMA.
That's what I-
So I think
what I
that's
was just gonna say.
fantastic. But really just getting back into the preparation of, the lists and we're good at the follow-up, but just the preparation, making sure the packets are prepared and everything else. So I think this was an awesome class and really appreciate you teaching it, Michael.
Thank you. What about you, Scott? Any ahas?
Yeah, I said it, but I was on mute. I was saying the wall of comps.
Gwen, any ahas? Gwen looks like she's speeding down the road right now.
Her mouth is moving, but she's on
Now
mute.
can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
It's amazing when I take it off mute. So yeah, I'm thinking about the wall of comps, the seller piece, the buyer piece, not having, you can, the call to actions all over the house. I'm like, all of this. And now I'm on fire to do an open house. I think this is such a great thing to do when I'm feeling a little dip coming to me. And I need to maximize the next, I've got listings coming up, 2 of them, and maximizing these listings for open houses.
There you go. Any other ahas? So make sure you've got your lead gen action plan, you've got your open house action plan. Make sure you've got your planning worksheet. When do you want to do an open house by, what date? What activities will you do to close the gap? Time block 3 hours every day before noon to do your lead gen. Thanks for attending, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.